Chapter 2. You do run. Parenting, hopelessly trying to change yourself through yelling at your children. Kevin Becker. I have 3 children. My son has an older sister and was born 2 minutes prior to his twin sister. He is a great kid. The problem is, however, that he inherited a lot of my traits. The other day, he needed some drops in his eyes. He had been outside playing and the pollen count was high. His eyes were red and watering like mine used to do, and he had been rubbing them. I grew up the son of an optometrist and have heard my whole life never to rub your eyes. But when my son was doing it, how did I respond? I yelled at him and told him to stop. I tried to put drops in his eyes, but he wouldn't open them. Have you ever tried to make someone open their eyes? Impossible. My anger flared and the tension increased. Open your eyes, I said. I can't. They hurt too bad, he responded. Yes, you can. Now do it, as I lost my patience. Rubbing them. I can't. It's too bright. Never mind, we were in a dark bedroom. On and on this went until I finally just squirted the drops on top of his closed eyelids and left the room in a huff. I know I'm awesome. Why does my son act just like me? Why can't he just open his eyes? Shouldn't the fact that my eyes are sensitive give him compassion or give me compassion? Nope. Judgment rears its ugly head and I let my son have it. I run, I bury my head in the sand, I flop, I give in to my anger. I see all of my dysfunction coming out in him and it reminds me of my failures. It hurts me, so I take it out on him, hoping it will change him so I can feel better about me. I'm convinced most parenting is hopelessly trying to change yourself through yelling at your kids. I see him act just like me. It infuriates me, so I punish him. After all, doesn't Proverbs say, foolishness is bound up in the heart of a child. The rod of discipline will remove it far from him. Chapter 22, verse 15. As a trained pastor, I can justify my dysfunction with the Bible. Sweetness. Nothing like hiding behind the good book to rationalize my anger. Circles. Many are born and raised by ostrich-sized parents who run and bury their heads in the sand. Our parents have problems and issues. Some are obvious, like angry alcoholics, and some are masked like self-righteous gossips. Parents see their same dysfunctions lived out by their kids, and so they yell, coerce, and manipulate them to change. I can't stand watching my children eat standing up, but I love to. I hate it when my son leaves his clothes on the floor, but mine pile up for days before ending up in the dresser. The children are too young to understand their parents' pain, and the criticism drives them into their shells. By the time children become teens, they're full of anger and are depressed and think their hell shell is who they are. Children aren't taught how to handle the pain, so they numb it with their drug of choice. Drugs, alcohol, sex, music, movies, eating, busyness, denial, sports, accolades, perfectionism, etc. Through poor choices, fear, or family pressure, they settle for a job that isn't their dream. They marry someone their dysfunction is attracted to. They have kids and repeat the cycle. Pretty picture, huh? As the wise man wrote in Proverbs 26:11, like a dog returns to its vomit. Life becomes a series of running away from problems. In the must-see classic Forrest Gump, Forrest is told to run away. This advice has been repeated over and over throughout the ages. We're natural runners. While flapping our beautiful feathers, we do run, we do run. When an ostrich encounters danger, it runs. Ostriches are the fastest birds on the planet. They can reach speeds over 40 miles an hour. If it doesn't run, it flops. Ostriches are known for playing dead, rolling over, lying down. From a distance, it appears as if they bury their heads in the sand. They don't, but it sure looks like it. Nice little illustration there. Burying and flopping are both a form of denial. Do you run? If so, how do you run? People run in different ways. My preferred method of running was burying myself in movies, self-pity, good intentions, or sports. Some of the things we run to can be healthy and wholesome on the outside looking in, but if you are observant, deep in your heart, you can tell if you are running or not. I know of pastors and chaplains who are doing a spiritual work on the outside, but inside they're running from who they are. Every weekend they put on their pastoral face and smile and welcome you to their blind spot. I mean church. But deep inside they don't have a clue why they do what they do. Some people I know run through music, exercise, and work. Some use other methods of anesthetizing. Pain meds, alcohol, food, technology, and meth. Any way you look at it, most people run from and not towards. We run from pain and not towards health. Another way of looking at running. You've probably heard the story of Adam and Eve. And depending on your religious upbringing, you might believe the story is real or just think it is a fairy tale. Whatever your belief system, it is interesting that when Adam and Eve ate the fruit, they realized they were naked and ran away to hide. When God showed up, he asked them an important question. He didn't come with a condemning spirit ready to burn them with hellfire. He just asked, "Where are you?" Interesting question, profound question. Again, where are you? Do you think Adam and Eve knew where they were? Do you think they understood they were mimicking the ostrich? They lived another person's story and not their own. They did what the serpent wanted them to do. When they realized they were naked, they ran and hid. The pain they encountered caused them to bury their potential. When they came face to face with God and he asked them where they were, they started blaming each other, another form of running. Blaming, making excuses, and running are all the same thing. It's easier to make excuses than get in the arena and get knocked around, or so we think. Excuses come in all shapes and sizes, but they're still a form of running. Give the ball to Calhoun. There once was an important football game between two teams. One team was much larger than the other, and they were in the lead. The coach for the smaller team saw that his team was not able to contain or block the larger team. His only hope was to call the plays that went to Calhoun, the fastest player in the stadium. He could easily outrun the larger players. The small team was only down by 5 points as the game entered the final minutes. By some miracle, they had not been blown out. As time was ticking down, the coach spoke with his quarterback and said, "Give the ball to Calhoun." 45 seconds left in the game. Coach paced nervously on the sidelines, but he still had hope because he knew Calhoun could score the winning touchdown. Down, set, hut, hut, hut. The quarterback looked to the right. He did not see Calhoun. He looked to the left. No Calhoun. The quarterback looked deep, but no Calhoun. And he was sacked for a loss. 30 seconds left in the game. The second play was again signaled for Calhoun, but once again, Calhoun did not get the ball, and the quarterback was sacked for a loss. 17 seconds left in the game. The third play was called for Calhoun, and again, the quarterback couldn't find him on his right, on his left, or deep down the field. Calhoun did not get the ball, and yet again, the quarterback was tackled behind the line of scrimmage for a loss. 4th down and 47 yards of field to take down last year's champions. The coach nervously paced the sidelines, yelling and spitting, "Give the ball to Calhoun!" 7 seconds left in the game. Down said, "Hut, hut, hut!" The ball was snapped, and the quarterback dropped back. He looked to the right. He looked to the left. No Calhoun. He looked deep. No Calhoun. As time expired and the horn sounded, the quarterback was sacked for the 4th time in a row. The coach furiously ran out onto the field and confronted the quarterback. "I told you 4 times to give the ball to Calhoun. Now we've lost the game." "What happened?" The quarterback stood and told the coach as he picked grass out of his helmet. "4 times I called the play to give the ball to Calhoun. The problem, coach, Calhoun did not want the ball." Do you want the ball? It's easy to sit on the sidelines and be a critic. It's easy to laugh and make fun of people who try. But deep in your heart, there is a war cry, a beat, a thump that beckons you to get in the game. You have heard it before. It calls out to you at night. It whispers your name during the day. Do you want the ball? Do you want the ball? Hey, do you want the ball? I love Theodore Roosevelt's thoughts. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions? Who spends himself in a worthy cause? Who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement? And who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. The desire to want the ball is instilled at birth. All 3 of my kids constantly say to me, "Dad, look at me." They want me to see them draw, compliment their schoolwork, come to their game, thank them for carrying their dishes to the sink, watch them on the monkey bars. Every time they do something remotely special, they want me to watch. Their artwork decorates our walls. Naturally, humans don't get stage fright. We're born with an innate desire to shine and have others watch us. Dancing babies are impervious to laughing parents. But somewhere down the line, we go from thinking we are great and the whole world should watch us to thinking we are trash. We take our eyes off our potential and place the focus on our pain. But you are treasure, not trash. Do you want the ball? Do you want the ball? Do you want the ball? Denial. As mentioned, I am a hospice chaplain and bereavement coordinator. Typically, people don't like being around death. Young people have their entire life ahead of them, or so they think, and the thought of hanging around dying people isn't inviting. As people get older, they struggle with thoughts of their own mortality. Let's face it, we think we will live forever, and maybe if we don't talk about death, we won't have to face it. As a hospice chaplain, I see people die a terrible death day in and day out. By that, I don't mean they're in discomfort and agony. I mean they've been ostrachized. They have run from their dreams, alienated their family, and let their drug of choice, alcohol, tobacco, depression, junk food, or stress, Sorry, I lost my place. Junk food or stress crush what remains of their heart. In their last days, their grown children are angry, fighting amongst themselves, and stealing their parents' pain meds. It can be an awful mess, and to top it off, most are in denial that their loved one will really die. I have seen people lay in their own poop with no one to clean them up, sit in their favorite cockroach, flea-infested chair, and not bathe in over 2 years. I can't even begin to describe the filth and trash I see people die in. It's amazing. There are a lot of homes that I don't even want to put my foot in. Sometimes I get home at night and I still smell the putrid aroma in my nostrils. I see families that do drugs, have kids in jail, yell and scream, and grandma thinks everyone's perfect. Have you seen the before and after shots of people on meth? Humans become zombies and grandma thinks everyone is a saint. Denial kills. Here's the deal. People die. You will die. The question is not a matter of whether or not you will die or when you will die. The question is how will you die? And I don't mean drowning or a car accident or house fire, etc. What I'm talking about is, will you die in peace with loved ones gathered around your bed? Will you die with everything in order, your will clearly distributing your belongings to your loved ones? Or will you die alone, angry, bitter, with no family members around who care? It bothers me to see family members put their loved one on hospice and not even tell them they're part of our service. Even in death, people lie, deny, and run from reality. Can you imagine not being able to say your last goodbyes or share your last hug? Can you imagine lying there, barely able to speak, watching your family not even honor you enough to tell you the truth? Painful. Some people die well. Most die ostrachized. Some people live well. Most live ostrachized. Another way we run from instead of running towards is mind tricks. My personal favorite story of how our mind has blind spots and plays tricks on itself happened to me. A few summers ago, I let my grass, really weeds, grow pretty tall. I hadn't mowed for 3 weeks. They were literally as tall as my waist. I was in denial, another form of running, and didn't have the emotional energy to care about making my yard look good. As I was coming home from work, I drove through a neighborhood with overgrown lawns. My subconscious mind said, "Redneck trash. How dare they let their yards look so dreadful?" A few minutes later, I pulled into my driveway and noticed my lawn. Funny thing is, my subconscious mind said, "Wow, Kevin, you are so busy." Isn't that terrible? We hate to face the music and tune in to reality. We deny, blame, run, and allow our mind to trick us into thinking we're okay. But take a second and think. Are you happy with the direction your path is taking? Do you hide behind important sounding excuses like, "I'm so busy"? If I had $1 for every time I've heard people describe how they handle their problems and pain with the famous phrase, "I just keep busy," I'd be a rich man. What shell are you living in? Are you aware of the blind spots? Do you justify the dysfunction? Movies and television. Have you ever thought about why we like TV and movies? One of the reasons I used to enjoy them is because in a 60-minute show or 2-hour movie, the hero solves their problems. It is a well-known fact that any good program has to have conflict. Without conflict, there is no story. In Hollywood, they solve their conflict before the movie is over. We love seeing problems resolved. We laugh, we cry, and we rejoice because the hero or heroine fixed it and lives happily ever after. In the real world, however, we have a tendency to run from our conflicts. Think of your life as a great stage, and you are the hero. What conflicts do you have? Are you willing to face the issue? To deal with it? To write your own story? Or do you want to give up, make excuses, and take yourself out of the game? If you can't fix your dating relationship in 60 minutes, do you give up? Do you trade in your spouse for a younger version? Would I pay money to watch you star in your own movie about yourself? Would you overcome the conflict? Addiction. As we run from and not towards, we generate a habit of running, best known as addiction. Every addiction is an attempt to numb pain and forget about the problems. Whether it is alcohol, gambling, porn, drugs, food, etc., they're all an attempt to fill the blind spots with love. Pain hurts. Who wants to live in pain? Nobody. When we have alienated our passions and potential, heart realm, from our convictions, head realm, we seek to find a source of pleasure, to feel better about ourselves, and end up lost in the darkness of dysfunction. The opposite of addiction is intimacy. What is intimacy? Into me you see. Intimacy involves closeness and familiarity, vulnerability and openness. How connected are you in your relationships? Have you really bonded with your spouse, or are you living as roommates? Are you brave enough to take a hard look at yourself? Do you dare stare in the mirror, look through the hollow eyes, and see who you really are? Can you look through the lens of mediocrity and discover greatness? Are you brave enough to wade in and identify what you are trying to numb? Are you willing to kick your addiction out the door and demand it leave? This is deep. Did you catch it? Addictions spring out of the shallow place. Deep calls out to deep, but shallow calls out to drugs and TV. How well do you know yourself? How in tune are you with your heart? When the text message came through and you were depressed, what was really happening under the surface? When you snapped at your boss, child, or spouse, what was really bothering you? Why do so many people run from their heart and into their pain? Why do we retreat into shallowness? Again, an ostrich-sized person is one whose potential is buried beneath their pain. It is easy to run away. The challenging part is to identify what you are running from and what you want to run towards. It all hinges on my favorite question: who are you? Study guide to chapter 2. How do you run? What are you running from? Open up, reflect, dig deeper. Can you identify it? Do you want the ball? Do you hear the call to engage? What is the call? Are you aware of any blind spots? If so, what are you doing about them? I believe in you. As you take an intimate look into your journey, please understand you are valuable and amazing and worthy of being cherished.